you don't actually have to sit at tables. Kind of lesson part, just
All right,
the part.
we're good.
Okay. Okay, who's got the first question? Pat, yes.
Page 82,
82.
exercise 7.
Exercise 7, yes.
Number 3, the last one.
Okay. Would you, let me just see, what would you respond with each of the following hands? If partner opened 1 heart, if partner opened 2 clubs, if partner opens 3 hearts? Okay, yes. Okay. What's the question?
My question is, if my partner had 7 and I had 4, I would go ahead and go to 4 hearts.
Which one, on number 3?
Uh-huh.
Well, okay. But the thing is, how many points does your partner have?
Not many.
Right.
Okay, so do you think, I mean, you've got
That's 11.
11 trump. Uh-huh. Yeah, which is not 11 tricks,
Oh, okay.
right? Because you're gonna, some of them are gonna be doubles, because you're gonna be pulling some trump. But again, you've got 1 trick outside the suit. So if you give them 7 hearts, that means they have 5 cards outside of hearts, right? And how many of those cards are you going to account for with tricks in your hand? One. Okay, you've got the ace of spades. Your queen, jack, and diamonds may do something, but again, it might not. Again, remember, when your partner opens 3 hearts, they could only have 6 points. And you've got 11. And how close is that to 25? Okay, again, that's the idea behind it.
Right.
If you want to bid 4, sometimes it will work. Sometimes it will work, but the points aren't there. And you have to look at the tricks outside of your hearts. So let's say they've got the ace and king of hearts. Okay, that's good. So that means you're going to get 7 tricks in hearts, right? Because you're not going to lose any heart tricks. So he's going to get, from his point of view, if he's got the ace and king of hearts, he's going to get 7 heart tricks. Okay, you've got the ace of spades. That's 8 tricks. You still need 2 more.
Like you would trump club, maybe, that's 1. You could trump
Maybe,
spade.
but again, it depends on how many clubs he has, okay? But the idea behind it is you're thinking about losers.
But I thought if you had 8 of a trump suit with the weekend, but that you went ahead and
Okay. Well, again, what you're thinking of is when your partner has, let's say, opened a spade, for instance. One spade. And you've got something like this. Okay, let's put a queen in there. Okay? So if your partner opens a spade and they pass, a 4 spade bid there, because you've got 5 pieces and a singleton, is a good bid. It's either going to make or it's not. Okay, but you're not necessarily bidding it to make, you're bidding it because you want to get in before the other people do. It's kind of like a preemptive bid. I have a lot of spades, and I want to preempt them. So either my partner's got enough points with my hand to make game, or if he doesn't, they do, but I don't want to let them find out. Okay? That's the idea behind that bid, not that you're necessarily going to make 4 spades. Okay? All right? On this one, I mean, your partner's preempt of the 3 hearts hopefully already kept them out of where they need to be. Now, you could certainly go to 4 if you think for some reason that somebody's going to be able to somehow come in and make 4 spades, but if you do, you've got 4 up to the ace jack. There's defense there. So the guideline is, again, you don't have enough points opposite a weak hand to make game, even though you do have a lot of trouble. But again, if you want to go for it and hope, but again, if they've only got 7 points, then that means that all the tricks outside of the trump suit are losers, with the exception of the 1 spade that you have the ace of.
right, okay.
And that's what it's trying to take a look at. All right? Okay? Did that help?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Well, plus, if he's got 7 and opens at the 3 level,
Uh-huh.
and he has the ace and the king, he can't have another
Well,
honor.
that's a good point.
He can't have
He's
another
got-
honor because he'd have a rule of 20.
That, Steve has a very good point. If he opened with the 7 hearts, with the ace and king of hearts, he really can't have anything else outside of his suit, anything good, like an ace or a king, because otherwise he'd be too strong to open 3.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't open one.
So he would open 1.
Right.
So that's another reason why not to go, because all the points are outside of his suit, which means they're held by the opponents.
Okay.
And if you go to 4, it's quite possible you might get doubles.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes, George?
Page 80, number 6.
Number 6, okay, yeah.
The 3 of spades, I just don't understand why you choose one.
Okay, so number 6, which number?
Number 6.
Number 6, okay, so let's see, the auction proceeds. South opened a club, we passed. They bid a heart and a spade, passed. Okay, they got to 4 spades.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so they opened a club and they bid hearts and spades. Well, the thing is, you could lead the 2 of clubs,
Right.
okay? I would not, okay? But the idea is you're not gonna lead a heart or a diamond, do we all agree?
One had a diamond, I thought.
You have the ace, the queen, and the 10. So if you have the ace and the king, you would lead the ace of diamonds.
Right.
If you do not have the ace and the king, you could lead the ace, but that's usually generally a bad lead, all right? You don't lead the ace without the king. And you never lead away from the ace in a suit contract, which means you wouldn't lead the queen or the 10. Does that make sense? Huh?
So you're left with,
So you're left with spades or clubs.
Why would you do the club? Because they bid it?
I wouldn't, yes, because they bid it and I've got the king. So they say lead the 3 of spades, I would lead the 7 of spades.
right, that's right.
I would lead up. But again, it doesn't really make any difference because if you had led the 3, you don't lead trump to set up a trick. So you're not leading low for your partner to go 3rd hand high, which is today's class. When you're leading a trump, you're trying to prevent them from trumping something and dumming. So your partner doesn't have to come up 3rd hand high because it's not our suit. We're doing it for a different defensive reason, okay? So again, they bid clubs. I also, as much as, leading away from an ace is really verboten in a suit contract, I really tried hard to not lead away from the king as well. Because sure as shoot, you're leading into the ace queen. It just happens so often, okay? Yeah, sure. Did that help though? Do you understand that?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Exercise 12,
Which is page what?
90. Actually, I don't understand the explanation of the bidding, the answer. East responds to clubs, a temporizing way.
Oh, yes, the old fake 2 club bid.
Yeah, and I thought it would be 2 no trump.
No.
Okay, see, so there you go. Help us
Oh,
out.
well, this is a bidding review, okay.
She's so excited.
Okay, what's that?
You're so excited.
Well, I do get so excited. For those of you who took my bidding class, which is almost everybody in here, and now you have forgotten, which is okay. This is why we have bidding reviews. Okay, your partner at West opens a spade, and you've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 points.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 spades is out, right? Because that shows 6 to 9. Everybody remember? 3 spades. Well, we do have the 4 spades for a limit raised. What do we also have?
Even hand.
Too many points. All right.
You should be
So-
in game. You know you're going to be in game.
Yes, we do, but we don't know about slams, and that's the difference.
Oh.
Okay? So your partner opens 1 spade. All right? If we're assuming this guy's passing, so cupids are out. Okay? So 2 spades we know is 6 to 9.
Yes.
Right? 3 plus pieces. Okay? 3 spades is 10 to 11. Notice the 11, 2. 11, which means not 12, not 13, 10 to 11.
Yes.
Okay? And 4 pieces. Oh, I forget who pad, hold on. Okay? And 4 spades, as we just saw earlier when I was talking about that bid, is a weaker bid. Okay? So this is a weaker bid. Okay, it's a weaker bid. It usually shows 5 pieces it usually shows 5 pieces in like a single, there's some ability to trump somewhere along the line, okay? So, when we have an opening hand, and our partner has opened, we don't want to just jump to 4. We could, because we know we're going to be in game, but what we want to do is just make a bid that's forcing, so that our partner will bid again, so we can get a little better idea if its game is enough,
Yes.
or if there's a possibility of a slam. And that's what they call a temporizing bid. So remember when I did the class, I used to call it, because this is what my old class did way back then, they called the old fake 2-club bid or 2-diamond bid. You're never going to be in clubs or diamonds. We all know that. But the thing is, by bidding a new suit at the 2 level, and again, you're going to do it in a minor because nobody wants to be in a minor. Okay? So you can just bid 2 clubs or 2 diamonds to say, okay, I've got 10 or more points. Your partner has no idea that you have spades, but they will bid again because you're not a passed hand because you have an opening hand. Okay? So you would bid, so can I take this off?
Yes.
All right, so you would just make a forcing bid. So you could bid 2 clubs or 2 diamonds. 2 hearts we know would be a forcing bid, but how many pieces does that promise? 5 plus, right? Right? These promise 4 plus, but sometimes you could do it with 3 just to kind of, you have to make a forcing bid, okay? But you have to make what's called a forcing bid. No level of no trump is a forcing bid. Okay? No trump, you have limited your hand. Okay? If you bid 1 no trump, it's what? 6 to 9. If you bid 2 no trump, it's 10 to 11, right? If you bid 3 no trump, it's about 12 to 15. Okay? But then that's game, so nobody's going to go any higher. All right? So you cannot make a forcing bid by bidding a no trump because it limits your hand. Every response of a no trump is a this to this. And anytime there's a this to this, it's not forcing because you have limited your hand. So what you have to do is just make a bid that's forcing, a new suit at the 2 level, okay? And you will force your partner to bid again. Imagine him jumping or jump shifting or something like that. Well now, not just game, but slam, okay? So that's the idea behind it.
No, you know where I was getting confused because there's only 3 clubs.
Well, because you have to make a bid. You have to make a forcing bid. And sometimes they're not perfect.
And that's why I thought no trump.
But no trump, No trump is not forcing.
The 2 no trump.
The 2 no trump, remember we crossed that out. No.
When it's forcing, does he have to bid a different suit?
He has to bid something. A forcing bid means he has to bid something, which is why it's forcing. Okay, it doesn't have to be a different suit, it can be anything, but he must bid something because you made a forcing bid. Okay? He might raise your minor, he might do what?
Does no trump imply you don't have 3 cards?
Well, it should because you aren't supporting. Yes, but again, it's a limited. It's not a forcing bid. Okay, but yes, no trump is for something when you don't have support. Okay, you can always make the old fake 2 clubs, 2 diamond bid just to keep your partner to bid. Okay, if they raise your minor, it doesn't make any difference. You're not going to end up there. You're going to end up in our suit, right? Another temporary bid would be if your partner opened 1 heart, right, and you have 4 spades.
Yes.
You could bid 1 spade before supporting his hearts. That would be another one. That gives you that option, okay? Doesn't mean you definitely have 4 spades though. Doesn't mean you're planning on being in spades, but you just want to make him bid again. This is not limited.
Okay, exercise 7.
What page?
Page 82, number 2 and 2 under that. Why did they not do a transfer on number 2?
Okay, let's just see here. Hold on a second. Well, it's exercise which? 7?
Exercise 7,
Number
example
2.
2, and then if your partner opens 2 clubs and they show it jumping to 2 spades, why would they not do a transfer?
Okay, well, you can't do a transfer over 2 clubs. Okay? Yeah, you can, they would have to be 2 clubs,
Okay.
right? You would just make your old 2 diamond waiting bid. Now, if he bids 2 no trump, now you can do a transfer.
Okay.
okay? But on this one, which is number 3, I think, where
Number 2.
2.
Number 2.
Okay, so you've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. Okay, so here, instead of the 2 diamond waiting bid, okay, you should bid 2 spades. Because you have, remember what it takes to bid your suit directly over a 2 club bid? Does everybody remember the 3 things you need in order to bid your suit instead of the 2 diamonds waiting? You need 3 things. 3 things, and you have to meet all 3, not just 1. You need 5 pieces, check. You need at least 2 honors, check. You need at least 8 points, check. And that's why you would bid 2 spades directly. If you didn't have all of those, if you had like 1 point less, or maybe only the king or the queen of the spades, you would bid 2 diamonds waiting. Hopefully your partner then come rebid 2 no trump, and then you can transfer.
What did you say you need this to do what?
Okay, anytime your partner has opened 2 clubs,
Yes.
right, and you want to bid your own suit directly, which would be 2 hearts, 2 spades, 3 clubs, or 3 diamonds. This is you bidding something other than 2 diamonds waiting. It's showing your own suit. But in order to do that, it's a forward-going bid, okay? But you need 3 things. You need 5 pieces or more, okay? At least a couple of honors, you can have more, and at least 8 points, and you can have more. But you have to have those 3 minimum to bid your suit directly over the 2 clubs. Otherwise, just bid 2 diamonds waiting, and you can bid it later.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
Okay? Yeah, you can. If
Because
you
you got
can't,
that weak hand playing the, again, showing the powerful hand is doing
right?
it.
Yeah, exactly. Again, you don't want to bid your own suit without those 3 prerequisites. Okay? You'll get a chance to talk about it later. If he comes back over your 2 diamonds, and let's say he bids 2 hearts,
You still
right?
can go to 2 spades.
Let's say he bids 2 hearts. Well, you can now bid 2 spades, okay? Showing him your 5-card suit, but now he knows you have 5-card suit, but now he knows you don't have a couple honors and 8 points. So it's a 5-card suit, but less strong, okay? Or if he bids 2 no, then you can institute a transfer. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah? Does everybody get that? Okay, yeah, Nancy?
Yeah, so on page 78, item number 3, it says to lead a heart. I also said the king of diamonds because you have the king and the queen.
Okay, well, let's just wait a second. Did they bid diamonds at some point? Let's see.
No, they
Let's
just
see.
bid
What
hearts.
page?
Oh,
Page
from a no.
78. You're on lead
Okay,
against
number
4
3.
hearts.
I'll tell you why.
Okay, I figured you would. That's why I'm asking.
If you were in a suit contract, not even a question, the king.
It is a suit con. You're on lead against 4 hearts.
I thought it's choosing the card. I thought it said with the best against a no trump contract.
Exercise 4, page 78.
Oh, I'm on 5. Okay, hold on. You're on lead against the 4 of hearts with the following hand. Okay. All right. Yes. Why wouldn't you lead the queen, king, and diamonds and see? Oh, here. Which suit would you lead in? So, which one? Number 4 you're talking about?
3. All opponents bid all 4 suits during the auction.
Well, number 4, it says the opponents bid hearts and diamonds during the auction.
Yeah, but number 3. Look
Okay.
at number
The
3.
opponents bid all 4 suits during the auction. So let's see. So how did okay. So they opened a diamond. Okay. Well, the thing is, do we have the auction here?
No,
No. You're on lead against 4 hearts, and the opponents bid all 4 suits during the auction. Well, I can understand why you might want to lead the king of diamonds. Again, it would depend on who bid the diamonds, but another lead they're saying is the trump lead, just because you don't want to open up any suit at all. So they're saying that's like not an offensive. What's the word? Not an aggressive lead. It's a passive lead.
And that's not me.
Well, but there are
So think
times.
about it this way. If they bid diamonds, chances are they have the ace. You don't know where the ace is. If you lead the king of diamonds, you're setting up one trick for yourself. But if you lead the trump, which isn't going to help them, right, and the ace happens to be a 50-50 chance where it aces, you might get 2 tricks if you don't lead it.
It's called a passive lead. You're not making a lead that's going to immediately give you a trick. Because again, I don't know how the bidding went, but I'm going to assume the guy with the diamonds is on my right, which
Okay.
means I have a chance of getting both my diamond tricks. And only because we have the information that somebody did bid diamonds.
Okay.
Okay? If we didn't have that information, then the king of diamonds would be a proper lead no matter what. And what they're saying, and what we talked about last week, was sometimes leading trump, just to not open up any suits to give the declarer any help. Because when you're making the opening lead, you don't want to help him if you can. Okay?
Because not only if you lead the king, he has the ace, he's going to take your king, but now he knows where the queen is,
Yeah.
right? So it would set him up for an easy finesse that he knows where the queen is.
And again, normally that wouldn't be a bad thing, but at this point, when they bid all 4 suits, you don't want to finesse your partner out of anything. You don't want to give them any information that can help the declarer make his contract. So leading a trump is a passive lead, because if you're finessing your partner, well, the declarer can do that on their own. So it's not like you've helped him at all. He's going to pull trump at some point because he has to. So you're not actually helping him at all. Okay? Anybody have any other questions? No? Okay. All right. So we're going to start with this week, chapter 3. Okay? This week, excuse me, we're talking about third hand play. Third hand, which means your partner has led. This could be on the opening lead. This could be during the play. Okay? But your partner has led, so you will play the third trick. I mean, the third hand to that trick. Does everybody make sense? They lead, dummy plays, you play. Okay? Or dummy leads, or you lead. Player plays, and then you play. Third hand. Okay? All right? And the important thing to think about, and again with the defenses, is communication. All right? So third hand is generally, like we've all heard the term third hand high, or some of us have heard third hand high enough. Okay? Well, generally speaking, when your partner leads a low card, all right, the idea behind it is that you're sacrificing something in your hand because your partner led low. So generally, when they lead low, they're leading from something, right? Does everybody remember that from last week? Okay. So when they're leading low, right, let's say a 2, can't get much lower, and they play something, all right, you're going to play your high card. And hopefully it's the ace, it'll win. Well, that's pretty cool. And then you'll return it to your partner, whatever he's got, through the declarer, right? And hopefully generate some tricks on your side. If you do not have the ace, which is more likely than not, you will play whatever you have, okay? Hopefully forcing out the declarer's high card to promote tricks on your side. And that's the idea behind it. It's kind of like a high card from the short side, except on defense when you can't see both hands. But you're working together, because I'll tell you, so often is, well, if I put my king out, the declarer's going to win their ace. Well, yeah, that's the idea, okay? Because the idea is that once that happens, you're going to get back in and promote whatever is here from your partner, on your partner's hand. Because remember, your partner and you are on the same team. So his queen is just as good as your king, okay? And that's generally the idea behind it. And you want to get in the habit of doing this because you are working as a team, and on defense, it's really important that you work together. It's also really important to understand what your partner's lead means, okay? Now, they led this, and the contract is 4 hearts. Where's the ace of this suit? It's not in dummy, because we can see here.
Oh, the declarer, you don't lead from an ace.
That's very good. That's right. That's right. Because we do not lead away from an ace in a suit.
What did she say?
She said, I asked where the ace, and she says, well, the declarer has it because we don't lead away from an ace in a suit contract.
Oh, okay.
All right? Now, if this was a no-trump contract, we don't know where the ace is. It could be here. It could be here. But in a suit contract, we know it's here because we know our partner wouldn't lead away from an ace. Right? Yeah. All right? But again, we would still sacrifice the king. If our partner has the ace in a no-trump contract, okay, our king will win, we'll return it, and we'll get back to our partner's ace or whatever else they led to, okay? if our partner didn't lead from the ace in a no trump contract, we'll put our king up. Declarer might win their ace, but now when one of us gets back in, we'll be able to promote tricks for our side after that, okay? Because we had to force out the ace. So it gives you some examples on page 94, all right? Your partner and okay? And if you look at the top of page 95, it gives you some examples of showing you why you do this, okay? Your partner led the 2, which is the proper lead. Dummy plays low. You put your king up there because you're taking one for the team, right? And it forces out declarer's ace, all right? But now when one of you gets back in another suit at some point, all right, you can see that your partner's queen and jack have now been promoted into good tricks. And if you're in no trump, his 8 did too, right? Because it'll be the last one. Does that make sense? And you can see what happens if they lead the 2 and you say, no, I don't want to give up my king, right? Well, declarer can now win with the 9 or the 10, and they will get 2 tricks in this suit. Whereas if you put your king up, the declarer will only get 1 trick in this suit. And again, it's about promoting tricks for your side, not helping the declarer. Okay? Now,
You have a question?
yes, where? Yes.
Just to clarify, you said the 2 is the proper lead, but is a queen jack in a suit contract considered a sequence?
It is. It could be, yes, but I'm assuming this is no trump. On this one here, because he didn't lead the queen. In no trump, you would need 3 in a sequence.
Right.
Okay, so with the queen jack 8, he would lead the 2. But that's a good point. Although I will tell you, just from my personal, a lot of times leading low, because of the 10, a lot of times leading low is actually a better lead. But again, queen jack from a suit contract is a perfectly acceptable lead, but not a no trump lead.
Right.
Okay. And if you take a look here on the next one where they're leading the 2, you have the king or the jack. Okay? Now, if this was a suit contract, you know that your partner's leading from the queen, right? You could put up the jack, right? But it doesn't really make much of a difference. You still need to put one up there to force out the ace. If this is a no trump contract, you don't know if your partner's leading from the ace, the queen, the ace queen, we don't know. Okay? But you would put up the king, the highest card you have. Does that make sense? And can I just caveat this one thing though? This is why it's so important when you lead a suit that you lead properly. So if you have something like this, and I'm telling you this because I see it a lot. This person's got the 8, the 6, and the 2. And they have decided they are going to lead this suit for whatever reason, okay? This could be a really good reason. And they lead the 2, because I'm leading the suit. Throw it out, okay? Think about what that means to your partner and his whole third hand high, all right? We just sacrificed an honor for what? To set up your 8? That doesn't sound like a good idea, right? So in this situation, you wouldn't lead 2 because you don't have anything in this suit. I don't want my partner to go third hand high because he's not going to promote anything for our side. He's only going to promote stuff for their side. So in this case, I might lead the 8. Say, partner, forget the old third hand high. There's nothing over here. Okay? When you get in, do something else. All right? Yes?
You said you know that your partner has the queen. How do you know?
If this was a suit contract, I know because my partner's leading, well, she could be leading from the 10 too, 4 to the 10. But I'm just assuming a banana, okay? The idea was we know the ace is in declarer's hand in a suit contract. In a no trump contract, we do not know. Okay? And the only reason we know that is because we don't lead away from an ace in a suit contract. And really stick that. And this is on the opening lead, by the way. On the opening lead. During play, I don't want to get that confused. During play, once play is established, the dummy has come down, you are able, and you certainly may, lead low from an ace at that point, because now you can see all 4 hands. You kind of know that there's no void in dummy. Okay? So again, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that. Let's get back to third hand high. All right? If you take a look here at the bottom of page 95. Again, this person led the 2, so this is a no trump contract, right? Because they're leading away from their ace. And you put up the king because you don't know where anything is, and it wins. Well, that's good. Are you going to return this suit? And what card are you going to lead to return it?
Jack.
The jack, your top of your remaining doubleton, right? So you will leave the jack back, and you can see how good that works, because now that's trapped declarer's queen. Declarer can either play the queen, at which point your partner will play their ace, and they're good 10. If declarer plays the 9, he's not going to play his ace because your jack's going to win. Okay, so you see how good this works working together. Does that make sense? Tell me if it doesn't. Okay, and here's some other examples. Page 96. This time you led the 2. Okay, you're still going to play 30-hand eye, the king, but this time declarer has the ace and the queen. Well, declarer is entitled to 2 trips in this suit. So you'll play your king, they'll play their ace, at some point you're going to get in and force out the queen, but then look what happens. Your partner will now get his 10, and if it's a no trump, he'll also get his 4th one. Does that make sense? If you only play the jack, he's still going to get 2, but you don't know where those cards are. Okay? So, I mean, like you said, you could play low, you could play the jack, but again, in this case, it won't make any difference, but in the next time it will. Okay? Am I confusing you? No? Okay. All right. Because the cards are all situated. We don't know where every card is. We only know that we have to work together with our partner to set up tricks for our side, the good side. Okay? Again, you're going to play the 10, the 2. Okay? All right? Now, you want to play the highest trick you can afford. If he plays the king, you're obviously going to not play one of your good ones, right? If he plays low, you're going to play the queen. All right? The highest one you need to play the trick. And again, this situation is here. If you only played the 10, you can see that the declarer will now win their jack. I'm at the bottom of page 96 in case I've lost you. Okay? You can see if you only play the 10, declarer will not only get his king at some point, but now he got the jack as well. So he got 2 tricks because he's going to be able to lead toward the king and the aces over here. All right? So he will get 2 tricks in this suit eventually when he's only entitled to 1. If you play the queen, it will win the trick. Okay? You can lead it back, and declarer will get his king and dummy, but your side will then get the other 2. So declarer will only get 1 trick in that suit. And that's really what I want you to see is how the consequence of not going 3rd hand eye can really help declarer. And I will tell you, having played against many people in this room, I am always very grateful to you as a declarer when I get the gift of somebody not playing 3rd hand eye. Because I will see it. You might not, but I do. Okay? So keep in mind, because when the declarer makes an extra trick, if you didn't go 3rd hand high, that might very well have been the reason why. And you don't realize it. You don't realize it at all. It's hard to see from your side, but the declarer can see it. Okay? And when it happens to you, yes.
So can I just ask, if you play the queen and you win the trick, and you lead back to your partner, he should play the ace then, right? Same
It depends on what he's doing. He could again, the dummy, the declarer side, that king is always going to be their trick. So let's say you won the 10 back and he played low. Well, now he doesn't have to play his ace at that point if he doesn't want to. He could let the declarer have his king, and now when he gets back in, he can play his ace and his 4th one.
Gets back in.
Yeah. Yeah, well, again, he's determining. Sometimes you'll find out that if declarer is due a trick, sometimes it's kind of like giving your losses up early. Like if you've got a 5-card suit headed by the ace king, right? So you lead this one, okay? Something, 3 to the queen comes down in dummy, and your partner wins the jack and wins it up. Well, you can take your ace and king right away, or you can, let him have his queen if he's determined. If it's determined that he is due his queen, you can give it to him early so that once you get back in, you can take the rest. Depends on how many entries you have here. Okay, we'll get to it later on. You'll see. Yeah, I think it's in the defense class, not the play of the hand class, where sometimes you have to hold up once because they're entitled to an honor in dummy. Let's give them fourth and queen jack. Well, I can't think of something now, but anyway, sometimes you have to allow them to have their winner. But if you have limited entries to your hand, give it to them first so that when you get back in, all yours are good. Okay? So again, when you lead this back, your partner might take his aces, might not. Depends on what entries he has in his hand. So he can, the declarer is always do that king of whatever this is in dummy, because the ace is where it is. So that king should always be good. You can play your ace, you cannot play your ace. The king will be good at some point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess, but if the declarer in that example played the jack on the second turn, then he would have to cover with the ace.
Not necessarily. Again, if he doesn't,
Wouldn't they get the king and the jack?
no, because that would be the second trick, right? Remember,
I say,
queen?
yeah, you'd only have one.
Right. So again, so he could do it either way he wants, and again, it would depend on how many entries he has to his hand. Because if his ace is his only entry,
Take it.
huh? No. Yeah, no, that means he might want to wait, because the idea is your partner, you've still got another one. If you get in somewhere, you could still lead it back to him then. But if that's his only entry, he has no other points, right? If he plays the ace, and then he plays the one and gives declare the king and dummy, he will now have the good 8 in this suit, right? It's a good trick, because it's the 13th one, but now nobody can get to him to get it. Because your partner doesn't have any to lead, and you don't have any more tricks. So on that particular case, in order to get 2 tricks, you'd let declarer have his king and dummy, but now when your partner gets in, they still have one more to lead to you. Now you take your ace and your last one. It's working with your partner. Okay? So again, he may or may not, depending on what he's got. The important thing is you would come up third hand high with your queen and return it. Okay? And it gives you an example on the top of page 97. Here's like a whole deal kind of scenario where it shows you how this kind of stuff works. So you can see that partner who is west, they're in one no trump, leads the 6 of hearts, 4th down from their longest and strongest. And dummy has nothing. You come up with your queen, sacrificing 1 for the team, all right? And they can either take their ace or not, okay? Sometimes declarer will choose to hold up. But you see the difference. If you only come up with the 9, declarer will now win his jack and still get the ace. So you held on to your queen. Why? Okay, all right. So you play your queen. Now he can pick the ace or whatever. You will get in at some point with the diamond and be able to return this suit through the partner's jack, through the declarer's jack, into your partner, right? So that he will be able to get the remaining tricks in this suit. Does that make sense? If your partner, if the declarer does not play the ace, you will still return it. Your queen won, you'll lead it back. And what card will you lead? The 9, top of your remaining doubleton. Okay? You'll lead the 9. Declarer can now play the jack. Your partner's going to cover with the king, but now he can force out the ace on the next trick. And then when he gets in with the ace of clubs, he will have the ace of clubs plus 2 remaining heart tricks that are good. Does that make sense? Okay. So again, he may or may not hold up the declarer, but your job is to go third hand high and return it to continue to set up tricks for your side. Okay? And again, third hand high is a guideline. All right? And you're helping to promote tricks for your side. Remember, your partner is your friend. All right? Okay. Okay, on the next page, page 98, we led the 3. Okay, they led the 3. So what we would do, if declarer plays the ace from dummy, well, we're not going to put our queen on, are we? No. So we could play the 10 to say that's a good lead, or we could play the 5. Okay, but we would. If they play low, if the dummy calls for the 7 or the declarer calls low from dummy, now we would go third hand high, and we would play our queen. With any luck, it'll win, you know. And then what would we do? We would return the suit, right? Don't be worried that the ace is there. Remember, we have to force out the ace, the high card held by declarer and dummy, to promote tricks for our side. So just because our queen won, doesn't mean, well, I don't want to lead it back because the ace is there. No, lead it back. Get that ace out of it. All right? Get him off the board. And that way your partner, and you can set up tricks for your side. All right? Now, that was third hand high. Now we're coming into third hand not so high. Okay? Third hand not so high is basically a way of communicating between you and your partner. All right? And what you want to do is, when we're leading a suit, we lead the top of touching, whatever. So our partner knows where the lower ones are and where the higher ones are, correct? When you're playing defense, you're going to do just the opposite. You're going to play the lowest card you need to win the trick. This will give information to your partner. You might not think it does, it really does. And once you start watching for it, you'd be surprised at the stuff you can learn. It's amazing. But on this particular case, your partner has led the 4. Dummy has nothing, so they're going to play low. And you have queen, jack, 2. All right? You have the queen and the jack. They are exactly the same. But you need to communicate to your partner. So you were going to not play the queen, you were going to play the jack. So if the jack forces out the king, right, by declare, and your partner's sitting there with the ace, he can watch. He's like, well, why would they play the jack? Because if the declarer had the queen, they would win the queen, right? That would make more sense. Does that make sense? So this way your partner can kind of put that queen in your hand without you actually turning and showing it to him. All right? So you would play the lowest card you need to win the trick. And if you take a look at the example at the bottom here, it's a really good example. Your partner led from the king, right? So he led the 4. Dummy played low. You played the jack, the highest one you needed to win the trick, and it forced out the ace. Now think about it from your partner's point of view. If you played the jack, so he led the 2, little, and the jack over here, right? If the declarer had the ace and the queen, would they put the ace on there? No, the queen. I mean, not well if they were stupid, right? But I mean, come on, they're not, right? They would play the queen, because that would win, and then they'd still have the good ace. So by you playing the jack, and it forcing out the ace, your partner's like, oh, my partner has the queen. And all you have to do is play the jack. But see how that works? But you have to stop and think about it. That's the, gotta think about it. But does that make sense? I mean, it makes total sense, right? Okay, so just by playing the jack, you have now told your partner you have the jack and the queen. So if they get back in, they know that they can lead over to your queen, and then you can return it back. Instead of them having to play a high one or play another suit. Does that make sense? This is all about the communication between you and your partner. Okay? And if you take a look at the next one, again, top of page 99, again, your partner leads the 4. You put the queen up there. And declare wins the ace. Well, by the fact that you played the queen, your partner knows that you do not have the jack. So who has the jack? Declare, right? Okay, so now take a look at this. This is a really good example. So they led the 4, dummy played whatever, you played the queen, and declare wins the ace. Now, if you get in another suit, you can now lead this suit again through declarer's jack into your partner's king 10. See how important that is? But if your partner doesn't know where the jack is, when he gets back in, he might lead it again. And then declarer is going to get 2 tricks in this suit. And does he deserve 2 tricks in this suit? No. Okay? So see how important putting that queen or that jack up helps your partner. Again, your partner has to kind of pay attention. And no, partners, pay attention. Okay? But when you do that, you can, as a defense, even though you can't see the cards, you can put certain cards into certain hands. And that helps you defend better.
Debbie, how do you know you, the queen, 7-2 person, that jack isn't really in partnership?
Well, we don't know.
Okay.
Okay? We're still going to come up with our queen because that's the rule.
Correct.
All right? And then if it wins, we will return it. If they take the ace, we're still, if we get back in, we're going to return the suit because he led from something. So we'll return it to him. Okay, but you see the difference, and this is the difference. Who leads that suit again?
Actually,
Okay, right, it should be by the you person, okay? Because if the partner person leads it, then declarer will get 2 tricks in this suit.
so 2 people know where that jack is. I'm just not one of them.
Correct.
Declarer knows, partner knows, but I don't know. Okay, just check.
Yep. Your job is to just work with your partner, okay? Take a look at the next one here. Let's see, this time you're in 3 no trump, okay? And your partner's gonna lead 4th down from their longest and strongest, so they're gonna lead the 4 of spades. Okay, now, take a look. Dummy's gonna play low. What card are you gonna play?
10.
The 10. Very good. Okay, now, if it wins, you're gonna continue, right? Okay, let's say declarer took his ace. Let's say declarer took his ace. So you played the 10, and declarer won with his ace. Does that make sense if the partner also has the queen of the jack? So do you think your partner might be able to figure out that you have the queen and the jack by playing the 10 and forcing out the ace? Right? See how important that is? Now, if the declarer doesn't play, now to be honest, in the real world, the declarer is going to hold up, right? He's not going to play the ace. And you're just going to keep playing. So you won the 10. Now you play your queen, top of touching honors, right? You'll play the queen, it'll win again, okay? You can play the jack, forces out the ace. Now when the partner gets in with the ace of diamonds, he will have 2 spade tricks that are good, okay? Let's say though, declarer comes up and plays on the ace on the first trip, okay? His plan, he has to set up diamonds, right? So he's gonna lead a diamond. Your partner's gonna get in with the ace of diamonds. He has to, because otherwise there'd be a revoke, okay? So he's gonna play the ace, but now he knows that you have the queen and the jack, because the 10 forced out the ace. So now when he gets in with that, he can lead over to your queen jack. You will win with the jack, and now you will lead back the queen, and he can now overtake it to get the rest of his tricks in the suit. Isn't that smart? Right? Okay? So you can see how working together and by playing certain cards, it can help you defend against a contract, all right? But it's really, really important. But I can't stress enough, you can defend all you want, but if your partner's not paying attention, it's still not going to work. So you both have to act, really pay attention, be focused, okay? Be focused on the cards that are being played, okay? Give you another example on page 100, okay? This time you're in a no trump contract, okay? I think we were last time, but anyway. All right, so they lead the 4 of spades. Is this the same one I just did? No. Led the 4 of spades, okay? Again, you don't know what your partner's leading from, but you're going to play 3rd hand high because there's no reason not to, so you're going to play the queen, okay? Now declare and hold up or not. It doesn't make any difference, but your queen will either win or not, okay? If it wins, you're going to continue, and what card are you going to play? The 10, the top of your remaining doubles, okay? The 10, he can decide what else to do, all right? You can see the difference, though, if you don't want to put that queen up, if you don't want to go 3rd hand high, and you only play the 10 at trick 1, well, declarer will not only get the ace, but they're going to win the jack, too. You just gave them an extra trick. We don't like to do that. All right? Okay? Does that make sense? All right. So that was 3rd hand high enough, not so high. Now we're getting to 3rd hand high enough. Okay? So here, for example, I'm talking about the top of page 101 there. Your partner has led the 3, and you have this lovely suit, okay? And let's say they play the 5 from dummy. What card do you play? And fool any. Right. And the wasn't there, what card would we play? If the queen wasn't there, the queen wasn't there, let's say it was the 7 and the 5, what card would we play? The king. We'd go 3rd hand high, okay? But because we can see the queen, we want to trap it. Because that's what we do on defense, we trap the player's cards. All right? So we would play the jack so that he will never, ever, ever get the queen. All right? Imagine that our partner did not lead away from the ace. Let's say they led from the 10, because this is a no-trump contract, and we played the king. Declarer can now take our king with their ace, and the queen is perfectly good. Again, we don't want to give them that extra trick. So we would win the jack, keeping the king over the queen. And it gives you an example of like how that would be if you came up with the king. Okay? Again, take a look. You have to think about what your partner led from, and what cards are in dummy, and what cards you have. All right? If you take a look at the next one now, I'm on the third one on page 101. Again, he led the 5. Okay? What card would you play on this one? We want to play the 10. Now, it's quite possible that the declarer might win the jack. It's possible. We don't know where all the other cards are. But the important thing here is we don't want, if we play the queen, the king, if we play the king and declarer plays the ace, the queen has now been set up for a perfectly good trick. And what we're trying to do in the last examples, it was all like little crap and dummy, little tiny cards, and so we couldn't see any other high cards, so we had to go third hand high. In this particular set of hands here, we actually see an honor and dummy, and we want to trap it. We don't want to allow them to get that. So we're not only going to promote tricks for our side, but we're also going to prevent declarer from getting freebies. Okay? So that's what you want. So you're doing both. It's a lot of work. Defense is a lot of work, yes.
Or if that wasn't king 10-4, but it was king 7-4, then you wouldn't have to put up the king.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's possible, yeah. If you don't have anything high there, but again, then maybe your partner would have led something different. You have to do the best you can. It's quite possible you might have to come up with the king, and if that's the case, he's always going to get the queen. But that's why it's so important on your partner's leads. You know, like if they have a sequence. You really like it when they lead like Jack 10-9, you know, and then he kind of gives the whole thing. We know where you know how to trap the queen. Still, you don't want to give up that queen. I probably would still play low and just let him have the freebie. But I like to trap the queen with the king, not give him anything extra. Okay. It's a little harder when it gets like that. You still have to make the best. Sometimes you'll just come up with the king and just go for it. But then he's gonna, if he has the ace, again in a suit contract, you know your partner's not leading away from the ace, so then you definitely wouldn't want to go up high because you know declarer has the ace. In a no-trump contract, it's harder because you do want to set it up. But again, you don't want to give declarer more tricks that he's entitled to. So it's harder with that one. Hopefully you would have, in another situation, you'd have some other cards to get a better idea. But sometimes you're just going to come up with your king because that's the only thing you can do. Okay. Remember, your partner did lead from something. And again, if it's a suit contract, it's not the ace on the opening lead. Okay, and it gives you the example here, page 102 of what happens. You can play the 10. It's going to force out declarer's ace. All right, but you have still been able to now keep the king over the queen. So instead, if you come up with the king, they'll take their ace, and now your queen's perfectly good. Sometimes, and we're going to see some examples later on, sometimes you actually have to give up taking your ace completely. And I'll show you some examples, but it'll end up being better defense in the long run. Okay, because losing one trick, but gaining a bunch more is still good defense. Okay? Let's take a look here. Okay, so here, okay, here you go for example, the second one, page 102. Here's a really good example. All right, so your partner led the 5, the queen's in dummy, so we're going to play the 10, and declarer's going to get his jack. Okay, he's always entitled to one trick in this suit because he's got the jack and the queen. Do we all see that? We can't take them all. All right, but if we play the king, it just makes it, now he can definitely lead over to the queen. All right, so he'll only get the 1. I don't think I sounded very good on that one. He led low, played low from dummy, played the 10, gets his jack. But now when we get in, we can lead our king, and they will trap the queen and dummy, or your partner can lead it back to the king and then back. But he will only get one trick in the suit, okay? If you play your king, they're still only going to get one trick just because of the layout. But again, you want to try to keep your king over. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Everybody awake? Okay, good. I got you. Okay. Alrighty. And there's just some more examples of that. You know, it just shows, on this next one, they will get, if you take a look at the bottom of page 102, again, this time they led 5 from the 9. Probably not the best lead in the world, 5 from the 9. It makes it a little harder on your partner. But anyway, they did, so there you go. So you play the 10, they will win the jack, but they will never get the queen.
What would you have played?
What?
You said the 5 is, what would you have played?
I would have led the 9 from the top of the 9/8, missing 7/6. I'm not going to lead the 5 from that one because I just don't think that's fair to my partner. Okay, makes it so much more difficult. And that is a broken sequence, right?
Yes.
Not a good one, but it is a broken one. Okay. All right, so that's what I would lead. So then that would help my partner know where all the cards are. Okay. Again, if you play the king, they can play the ace, but now both their queen and their jack are good. So if you play the 10, they can win their jack, but they're not going to get that queen. So they would get, if you played your king, they'd get 3 tricks. If you only play the 10, they'll only get 2 tricks in this suit. Okay? It's kind of hard to see, but the difference of giving an extra trick to declare, again, you have to practice it. I mean, these are all in the book. It's hard as it is. But as you play more and you practice this more, you will see it. And also, when you look at the results and everybody made 2 in a contract and you only let them make 1, that's exciting. That's very good, you know? Okay. Take a look at the complete deal on page 103.
On that last one on 102, it says, if your partner leads the 9, you don't have to go up with the 10.
I wouldn't.
Unless you
I wouldn't.
want to try to lead through.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying. If I led the 9, no, there's no reason for me to put the 10 on because,
It's the same.
yeah, it's the same, and what am I gaining for it? But it does help me keep my king over the queen even easier.
And it helps lead through south if that's an issue.
What do you mean?
You know, if you're leading back, if you win with the 10 and lead back rather than your partner.
Yeah, but you're not gonna win with a 10 because they.
Yeah.
Well, if my partner leads the 9, and the dummy plays the queen, then I obviously would play the king, right? Now I'll play my 10 back. He's still going to get his jack, but now I still have the little one to get back to my partner's 8, and then his last little one. Brilliant lead, by the way. 9. Okay. Take a look down on page 103. I'm just reading my notes. Okay. All right. So again, we're on 3 no trump again. This is a complete deal. Your partner led the 2 of hearts. Well, he had to lead something, didn't he? All right. Okay, and you can see the king and dummy. We don't know what our partner led from. Okay, so what would, if we lead the 2, and let's say they play the 4 from dummy, what card would we play? The 9, right? Now we know that declarer might have a trick in this suit, and they might get one, but we're, gosh darn, not going to let them have them all. Okay, so we're going to keep our ace over the king. Now look what happens if we come up with the ace, right? Declarer is now going to get 2 tricks in this suit. If we play 3rd hand high, getting our ace, declarer is now going to get the king on dummy and the queen in their hand, 2 tricks. What happens if we play the 9 and we let him win the queen in dummy, right? I mean, queen in this hand. But now we get in there again, and your partner leads it again. You now have the 10 and the king, and the 10 and the ace. Good God, I cannot talk today. The 10 and the ace over the king. Does that make sense? I know, I'm having a bad day. I can't help it. Okay? That's what happens when you go on vacation. Can't come back. Can't come back. But does that make sense?
So trapping is really important.
Trapping is very important. Again, when there's nothing in dummy to trap, then all you can do is go 3rd hand high. But when there's something in dummy to trap, you want to try to trap it. Again, it's the difference between giving freebies and not.
Debbie?
Yes.
So that's an important point. So on the examples where the queen was in dummy and you've got the king, right, and the lead goes through, you don't play your king because you want to keep your king over the queen, trapping it, right? If you get back in now in another suit, don't lead that suit. And I've seen that so many times, right? You know, you've got your king, the queen's in dummy, and now you're on lead, right? you don't want to lead that suit. You want your partner to lead it through the queen, or you want to put the declarer in a position where they're going to lead it through the queen. But I've seen so many times where you do it great the first time on the opening lead, you don't take your king to hold it, but then they lead another suit, you get in, and then they think about it and say, okay, well, then you play your king, and then you play another trick to their queen. If you're going to keep your king over the queen, keep it over for the entire hand. Okay? You want to make sure he doesn't get that queen. So if you get in, lead a different suit, hoping your partner gets in and can lead that suit through the queen again, or declarer wins it, but then the declarer is going to be in a position where they're going to have to lead that suit eventually and lead through the queen again. Keep the king over the queen. Unless it's a setting trick, then take it.
Yeah, setting tricks are important. Setting tricks are important. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say something else. Oh, yes, again, on defense, thinking about where certain cards are in proportion to your partner and the declare and stuff, you really want to think about who should lead the suit again and who would safe to lead the suit again. So in that particular case, again, we're assuming that you played the 10 and it forced out the ace, okay, because if you know, you might want to lead it back if your partner has the ace, but we're assuming the ace has been played, so then you're not the one who should be, you on this side of the dummy, you know. Right? So your partner should lead it again, through. And by playing the 10 and it forcing out the ace, your partner should know that you have the king, right? Because you wouldn't play the 10 over the 8, you'd play the king, you know what I'm saying? So it gives it an idea of what cards are there, so who should lead the suit. Okay, where was I? I don't remember where it was. Am I on page? Well, we just did 103, okay, right? So you can see that. So by playing the 9, declarer can win the queen, but now at some point, your partner's going to get in. Oh, they're going to lead a club, because the declarer's plan is to set up the club tricks. Do we all see that? So he's going to lead a club, and your partner's going to get in with the king of clubs. They are not going to immediately play the ace of clubs at this point, right? That's your entry. So you won the king of clubs, because I gotta tell you, I see that all the time. Oh, I better take it. No. All right? You won your king of clubs, you're gonna now continue this suit that you started on defense originally. So you were gonna continue the heart suit, which would now, your partner can now trap the king of hearts. So he's either gonna play the king from dummy, and your partner's gonna play the ace, and now he's gonna lead back his remaining one, or declare is going to play low, at which point your partner's going to play their other honor, the 9, the 10. They played the 9 on the first one. Now they're going to play their ace, trapping the king. All right? Now they can't get back to you in a heart because they don't have any more, but at some point, declarer's going to get in and lead another club, and you will get in with your other high club and take your remaining heart trick. See how that works together? It really works very well. All right? But again, you don't want to just take your ace and your king of clubs when declarer leads it. One is good. Get you in, continue on your defensive plan. But save the other one, because otherwise he just set up a whole bunch of tricks for him, and you will now not have an entry into your hand to capture that last card that you and your partner worked so hard to set up. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Take a look at the bottom here. Here we're talking about is a similar situation where I think partner had bid this suit, so you're going to lead, all right? And they're in no trump, I guess. So you're going to lead. You're on lead, and you've got the ace 6, and your partner has bid this suit. What card do you lead? 8, top of your doubleton, right? You would lead the 8. Okay. So now we can see. Now when you lead the 8, your partner over here, the you guy, kind of knows where the 9 is, don't they? Because if you had the 9 and the 8, would you be leading the 8? No. Oh, thank goodness. Right? So he knows declarer has the 9. Okay, so he wants to keep the queen trapped. Your lead was so perfect. So you're going to play the 8, dummy's going to play low, and what card is your partner, the you person, going to play? 10. The 10. The 10. Now, that will allow declarer to win his king. But he's entitled to one trick anyway. Okay? He's entitled to one trick. Now we're hoping you're going to get in again. You're going to get in because you only have like one entry in your hand because not a lot left for you probably, right? But you get in, you're going to continue leading this suit for your partner, right? And now your partner can now trap the queen and dummy and get 4 more tricks. All right? If your partner comes up and plays the ace at trick 1 and then returns it, declarer is going to get 2 tricks in the suit, both the king and the queen. So you see a difference on what card you play, all right?
So what do they play the second time, Jack or?
Well, we're not going to play it at all.
I mean, does the lead, if they lead to you?
Okay, if your partner gets in and leads it again, well, it depends on what card's played from dummy. If they play the queen, you're going to play the ace. If they play low, you're going to win the jack. Because remember, the king was played at trick 1. It will win. Now you'll play your ace, trapping the queen, and then getting the rest of yours. So it depends on what they play from dummy. Okay? All right. And okay, it gives you some examples on page 104 of what cards you would play. All right? Again, this happens more often than not. That whole third hand high, that's really good. But all too often we miss the parts where there's a card in dummy that we want to trap. And that's why a lot of times on defense we may give up an extra trick that we didn't want to. Okay? And it gives you some more examples on page 104 of what card you would play. So for instance, if your partner led the 6 and they played something from dummy, what card would you play on that first one on page 104? Queen. The queen, right? Not the king, the queen. If you were going to lead this suit, what card would you play? King. The king. So you see how it differentiates. Okay, next one. They lead the 5 and there's the jack 6-2 in dummy. What card do you play? Third hand high.
10.
The 10, right? Because there's no reason to put your queen up when the 10 will do just as good with the jack sitting right there. Right? Okay. And the same thing on when they lead the 3 on the next one, what card would you play? Jack. The jack. Now, if your partner led from the king, your jack just won. Okay? If he didn't, then the declarer will win their king, but you will have not allowed the declarer to get the king and the queen. Okay? All right? Now, this is different when partner leads a high card. So that's when partner's leading a low club, and that a low card, and that's why it's so important that your partner realizes what your leads should mean, right? And why when you lead, you need to lead on what your card says to your partner, not what you want it to say, okay? Which is why leading high versus leading low is so important, okay? When your partner leads a high card, it's generally leading a sequence, or maybe what's called a top enough, and we talked a little about that last week, okay? But it really helps your partner know what's going on. And as we've seen in a lot of our hand classes where it's kind of set up properly, you get the queen and there's the good old king and dummy and your partner has the ace. It's very exciting, right? But if you look, well, it is, okay? But here, when your partner leads the queen, they should have the jack and probably the 10, right? So that helps you be able to know to not take your ace. If they led the 2, it's very hard for you to not come up with your third hand high with your ace and set up the king, all right? Which is why it's so good. Those top of sequence leads are so important, all right? And we've seen this, let's face it, ad nauseum so far in the class, okay? Now, again, this is another thing to think about. When you lead the queen, you should have the jack. Queen doubleton is generally not a good lead, all right? It messes your partner up for defense. Very rarely does it help you, and more often than not, it costs you a trick. The same thing with a singleton queen. If it's your partner's suit, well, I hope you lead it. But otherwise, you generally don't want to lead queen. Maybe because that's even. So lead the queen, have the jack, and depending, maybe the 10. And you can see, and it shows you on page 105, how you can trap the honor that's in dummy. If you take a look at the second one on page 105, when they lead the jack, well, what do we know about the lead? Jack 10, most likely 9, right? Okay. Does it have the queen?
No.
No. Could it possibly have the king?
No,
Well, I have the king, so I guess not that way. Okay, so we know that could it, well, if it's a no trump, it's a possible, no, it really shouldn't have the ace, but it could have the ace. It's possible that the ace, jack 10, it's possible. But again, we know that our partner doesn't have the queen, correct? So on top of the jack, what card would we play from the U hand on that second one on page 105? Okay, well, you really should play the king, okay? Because we know for a fact that the declarer has the queen. Is that correct?
Yes.
100%. So that means you've now, if you don't play the king, you've definitely given the declarer the queen trick. All right? Now, if your partner led from ace, jack, 10, 9, say, and you've got king, 8, little, well, they won their queen. Do they deserve to win their queen? No. Okay, we don't know for sure. That's why we use the guidelines of what we're going to play. We do know that the declarer has the queen because we trust our partner not to lead the jack from queen jack. Okay, so then you would come up with your king and then lead it back. If the declarer has the ace queen, can't do anything about it. They're going to get them both. Okay, but by forcing out the ace and the queen, you will now set up the 10 and whatever else your partner led from. Okay, so it's about working together to promote tricks. But here it is, ace, jack, 10. I didn't even look far. So if you looked at the next one, there's the example of why you would do it. Okay? Jeez, I didn't even see that. Okay, anyway, next one. Okay. And again, here on the next page, 106, again, we know that you do not have the queen. We know the declarer has the queen. Debbie, you should have stayed in bed this morning. Okay, we know the declarer has the queen, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we can play our ace. Now, if it's a singleton queen, they're only going to get one trick anyway. But if we play the ace, then the declarer's going to get the queen and dummy and the king. The queen in his hand and the king and dummy. If we play low, right, letting declarer win his queen, that's one trick, but he's not getting that king. Unless we, make a mistake. But will we lead that suit then? We as the you person? No, we're gonna wait for our partner to lead that suit again, okay? And hopefully then they'll come up with the king, we'll get a ace. Now, sometimes people will say, well, I'm worried that it is a singleton queen, and then if they'll get their queen and I'll never get my ace. Y'all thought that, right? It's possible. But I'm gonna tell you, this is what I want you to remember. If you play your ace and it drops by chance, the singleton queen, not as likely, by the way, could happen now. But now the king is set up in dummy. Okay? The king is a perfectly good trick. At some point, the declarer is going to get to dummy and play that king. And they are going to discard a card from their hand on that king. You know whose trick that was that they just discarded? Yours. Okay? So while you may not have, you took your ace, you've lost another trick that you don't realize. So don't be so worried about that singleton queen problem, okay? If it's not a singleton queen, by playing your ace, you've given them an extra trick to begin with. If it is, they will get their singleton queen, but they will never get that king to discard another trick on. And that's what you have to think about. And I find that, especially with newer players, they don't think in those terms, but you will.
Okay, how do you signal to your partner that you actually have the ace?
Oh, well, we haven't quite gotten there yet.
When you
but
put
we
the
will.
8 down versus a 4 or
Yes.
a 3.
That's exactly it. We actually haven't gotten to signals. That comes a little bit later on. But yes, that is a good way to do it, by playing which card you play. Remember I told you about the guy who, my mentor, who told me every time, Debbie, you play a card, I want it to mean something? To this day, I still do that. Okay, so every time you play a card, you should be telling your partner something. Okay, so when he leads the jack and you're going to play low, right, you can put the 8 up there saying, partner, good lead. Okay, as opposed to the 3, where your partner might not quite know what's going on. Okay, we're not going to get to that yet because there's a whole chapter in that coming up. Baby steps. Well, there's a whole book we still have to go. Okay, all right, but you will learn that. Okay. And again, partner's going to, if by signaling with the 8, though, you would tell partner, keep it going. Okay. And again, I have my whole thing about the singleton queen down here. All right, my notes. Okay, page 107, here's another example of a complete deal. Okay, so now this time they led a top of the sequence. It is so much easier when they lead a top of the sequence because you kind of know where everything is, right? So they led the 10, and you've got the ace, jack, 7. So you know that your partner does not have the king, right? So there you're leading the 10, so you want to keep up, you want to keep your ace, jack over the queen. The king, the declarer is always going to get one trick because he has the king and the queen. He has the king in his hand and the queen in dummy. He's always entitled to one trick. He is not entitled to 2. If you play your ace, he will get 2 tricks in this suit. Okay? So let your partner's 10 ride. Unless they play the queen. If they play the queen, obviously you're going to play the ace. Okay? So if your partner led the 10, if they call for the 2 from dummy, what card are you going to play?
7.
The 7, right? Because you want to keep your ace jack over the queen, remain in honor and dummy. Declarer will win his king, but now your partner will be able to, or somebody will be able to play, not you, somebody else will play this suit again, and you will now get the ace and the jack, because you kept it over the queen. All right? If you do, again, play the ace, then declarer will get 2 tricks in the suit, not 1. Okay? It really does make sense. Now, take a look at the next one. Here's an example where they led the king from the king 10, 9, 8. Okay? So again, you played the 10, your partner played the 7, and oh my gosh, your 10 won. Well, that's pretty good. That kind of gives you a lot of information about where the cards are done then. Okay? Because you led from the king 10, 9. So are you going to continue this suit? Well, heck yeah, right? You will continue it again. And now you will be able to get no tricks for the declarer and all the tricks for you. Does everybody see that? Now, if you, as the you person, came up third hand high and played your ace, and then let it back, declarer's queen will always be a trick. Do you see that? Because you'll get your ace, you can lead it back, your partner will take his king, but then the queen and dummy is going to be good. So see, somehow, and again, it's just a matter of perspective, allowing the declarer sometimes to win 1 trick, but not letting him win 2 when he only deserves 1. And that's really what you want to concentrate. And that's what the whole trapping idea is behind. Okay. Want to go, and you can see that, again, if you take a look at page 108, it just gives you more examples of the same thing. Because in all of these examples, your partner's leading the 10, and what it's showing you is the different things that 10 might be. You know, it could be 10, 9, 8, king 10, 9, 8, 10, 9, 8, 7, as we see over here on the page 108 here. Okay, now again, here we're talking about the 10. Okay, now when your partner leads a 10, play low, you're going to play the 7. Declarer is going to win his singleton king. Yeah, but he's not going to get that queen. Okay, so again, it's 1 trick versus, I mean, on this particular case, he's always entitled to 1 trick. You're going to give him 1 trick. And you might not see, if this is a no trump, he might win his king. But then, well, if it's a no trump, I don't really, you're going to play the ace. You're host if this is a no trump. But the idea is that even though he wins his singleton king, it was what I was saying before, he's not going to be able to discard anything on that queen. So you might be able to be giving up your ace trick, but you're getting the other trick back. And that's really what I want you to see. Does that make sense? Okay, all right. All right, I'm losing you, so let's go a little quicker here. All right. Again, it just gives you a couple of examples on what you have. So your partner leads the jack, and the second one from the bottom, there's queen 7, 4. Okay. You do not want to play. You want to show the ace, the 8, because you do not want to allow the declarer to win the queen. Does that make sense? Okay. And if you look at the next one, Jack, you know that your partner does not have the queen. Declarer is entitled to 1 trick, the king or the queen. You don't want to allow them both. Okay, if you play the ace, they will get both. Does that make sense? Okay. I want to take a look at page 109. Now, this is another concept. Are we all staying with me?
Yes.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. This is the last thing before we get to the bidding, reviewing, and the hands. Okay? Unblocking. This is a very important concept in defensive bridge. Okay? When your partner has led a sequence, you know what that sequence is, and you want to try to get out of his way. Okay? So take a look at this one. I'm in the middle of page 109. Your partner has led the king from this suit. He's got the king, the queen, and the jack. All right? You have ace little. You know that your partner has the king, the queen, and the jack. If it's a no trump, for sure, right? Okay. So what you want to do is when your partner plays the king, you are going to play the ace on that king, overtaking it. And now, when you lead it back, you're going to be able to lead it back into your partner's suit so that he can capture the rest of the cards in this suit. Look what happens if you don't. If he plays the king and you just play the 3, well, he can play it again. Now, even if he plays a little one, your ace wins, but now how do you get back to him in the suit? You can't. You have blocked the suit. You have prevented him from getting to the rest of his winners. All right? Yes?
Well, when we look at these, that's fine, but we're assuming you have no other way to get back.
Doesn't make a difference.
It does not make a difference.
No, you want to unblock because you don't know if your partner's got another entry or not, and you have to tell him where everything is.
And you know it's gonna win anyway going back. See, led from that.
Well, yeah, it should. I'm going to tell you when it's really important is when they've led the king and it's a suit contract and you've only got 2 of them. When you play that ace and lead it back, he knows you have exactly 2. So that if it's true, he can now count how many everybody has and he can give you a rough or do whatever, okay? But in a no-trump contract, again, when your partner has led the top of a sequence like this, you may or may not have another way to get back into the hand. You have to assume you don't, and you should always unblock. Always unblock. If you can. Okay? And I'm going to, let's see, there's going to be an example here somewhere. Oh, here. Okay? The bottom of page 109. This time your partner led the queen, and they played low from dummy. They played low from dummy. What card do you play? The king. That is correct. Well, it is. It is a high card from the short side. It's also getting the heck out of the way of your partner. Okay? So you play your king, it will win, and now you lead it back. Okay? Now, the ace is going to heal. Your partner can continue leading this until the ace is taken out. Now, if he doesn't have another way of getting into his hand, you can't do anything about it. All right? But the idea is you have unblocked the suit so that if he can get in with whatever, he will be able to take the remaining cards back. So you would win your king, you would lead the 8 back, he would play the 10, and then he could keep playing another one until the ace comes out, depending on how long the player holds up. But then once he gets in, his remaining ones will be good.
Debbie, all these examples are 3 consecutive. Yeah.
Well, again, in a no trump, it's going to be 3.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh, this
In a
is
no
okay.
trump, it's always going to be 3.
Okay.
And in all these examples, the other side has a 3-3 split, which is not like it. That's really like it.
Well, that's, you've got the high ones. So again, you want to unblock. I'm just telling you. Your partner led that sequence for a reason, and again, they've got the queen, the jack, and the 10. So you want to get out of their way. Sometimes sometimes it will set up a trick for them, but you can't do anything about that because the thing is, if you don't unblock it, then they use their remaining entry to get in, and now you've blocked the suit, so now they can't run it anyway. So you're basically getting out of their way. Because they've got this long suit, you want to put your high card out there, let her run. Let them get it. Let them get in, and if they can get in again, they can run the suit. But you want to just not block it, because I will tell you, that's really bad on defense. Okay.
If you have 3 instead of 2,
Oh, 3 you would not overtake. No, you would give, well, again, we're going to get into signaling, but you'd signal a high one, right? Hopefully then your partner would lead over to you, and then you would lead it back.
So if dummy played the ace, you would still play your king?
I would.
Wow, you'll get a highbrow look from your partner.
Oh, no, you wouldn't, because I remember the first time I did that, my partner was like, oh my gosh, because I was a very new player. And my partner actually freaked around. She's like, I didn't think you'd know how to do that. I was like, well, I didn't know what else to do, you know? But yeah, you want to get out of your way, because now when your partner gets in, or if you get in again, right, some other suit, now you have a little one to lead back to your partner. So again, I know that one's hard to see, okay? It is. But again, you're getting out of the way of your partner, okay? I still remember that. Okay. We have one more, and this is an example of unblocking here on page 110. Your partner has led the queen, okay? All right. Now here you've got 3 of them. What are you going to play on trick 1? They're in 3 no trump, and your partner has led the queen of hearts. King. Get in the habit. Okay. I know you think it's just get in the habit. Always play the highest one you need to first. It doesn't make any difference. You're going to play the next one next, but I'm trying to get you so that it's rote. Okay? If you automatically play the king, then when it's important, you will play the king. And when it's not important, you'll still play the king. Okay? So what you'll do is you'll overtake the queen with the king. You'll play the ace. And now you will have a little one to lead it back to your partner. The ace. Yeah, you'll play the king first. Now you'll play your ace, unblocking, and now you have your reserved little one to play back, and you will get the first 5 tricks in the suit. And I don't think they're going to make 3 now. Okay? All right? Okay. Just a little bit of bidding review, which will probably come up in the hands we're going to play. Okay? Maybe just a little bit. We're talking a little bit about 1 no trump opening bids and responses. Okay, if you look at page 111, we're going to cross that stuff out at the bottom, right? Because we are now all doing transfers. All of us are doing transfers, right? We're now at the point where everybody in the room does transfers. So that stuff at the bottom no longer exists, okay? We go to page 112, which is transfers, which is the stuff that we're doing now, okay? Remember, how many points do we need to do a transfer? 0. That's right. We need a minimum of 0. So if you can count up to 0, you have enough points to do a transfer as long as you have enough pieces, okay? So it shows what you do here, okay? With 0 to 7 points, you're either going to pass. If you have a 5-card major, you're going to transfer to it. If you have a 6-card minor, you can also do a transfer depending on how you do the transfer. Does everybody remember that? No. We talked a little bit about this last time. Again, you do not transfer to a minor unless you have 6 pieces. 5 of a major, 6 of a minor. You want to be weak to do it or very strong. We talked about the relay system. How many people are doing the relay system versus the straight transfer? Nobody knows. Okay? I'll just teach you the easiest one. I'm going to teach you the straight transfer. If you want to do the relay, go back to the book and we'll go over it. If you have any questions, send me an email. 2 spades equals 3 clubs. 3 diamonds equals no. 3 clubs, there it is, equals 3 diamonds. So you're just bidding the suit underneath the one just to continue on. And this way your partner will always be the declarer, and then you can pass it, okay? But you need 5 cards in a major, 6 cards in a minor, okay? Does everybody remember that? We're going to go over that. In fact, I'm going to bring that in as a bridge shot coming up real soon, just to review it a little bit more, okay?
Okay, so Debbie, partner opens on the top, I say 2 spades, which I'm really saying 3 clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one underneath is
3 clubs.
3 clubs equals 3 diamonds.
Yeah.
You can correct the 3 diamonds if that's really.
Well, again, this is a straight transfer system. The other is the relay, where 2 spades means clubs or diamonds. Okay? There's 2 ways to do it. Neither one's wrong. But pick one and stick with it.
How do you transfer from 1 no trump to diamonds?
Well, again, it would be 3 clubs.
Why 3?
Because you can't do the 2, because 2 diamonds is a transfer to hearts.
No, it can't be 2 clubs.
Okay. All Okay, and it talks about here on page 113, the responses to a 2-no trump opener. Statement and transfers are the same. You just need less points. So how many points do you need to do statement when your partner has opened two clubs? No, 5. Because remember, when your partner has opened 1 no, you need 8. When they've opened 2 no, game is only 25, so you only need 5 points for game. So you only need 5 points to do statement. Okay? Okay, not less. And you still need 0 to do a transfer.
It's 4 points, isn't it?
No, well.
Because 1 no trump is 50 to
They
70.
say 0 to 4, they say you shouldn't do it 5, but again, the 4 points, yeah, it's plus 4. Because, if your partner's got 21 and 4, it's still 25. But again, you do not need the 8 points that you need when your partner opens 1 no trump. Statement's still good, transfers are still good, okay? Again, responding to 3 no trump opener, I told you we don't do that, we just do the 2 club bit, and then you end up with no trump. All right, there's a little bit more in here, but we're gonna go on to hands because it's time. Let's go. All right, everybody, stay here. All right, you're good. Are you on tour now? Did Julie leave? She had to leave?